Today, I'm at my absolute favorite historical location, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I've always had a fascination with this town and all of the history that goes along with it, perhaps because it's so easy to envision what it was like during those 3 fateful days in July of 1863. In the near future, I'd love to venture out onto the battlefield and through the town to cover the battle more in depth and share with you some of the stories related to the battle. But for now, I'm at the Visitor Center at Gettysburg National Military Park, checking out the museum. There's a ton of cool stuff for us to see inside, so I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. This is Searching for History. Let's go learn something. The tickets we bought included a presentation of the cyclorama, and this thing is mind-blowing. This is an oil painting made by French artist Paul Philippeteau. It depicts the culmination of the battle during Pickett's charge and was finally finished in 1884 after nearly a year and a half of work. It is one of the largest oil paintings in the world with a circumference of 377 feet and 42 feet tall. Just imagining the amount of painstaking work it took to make this thing is insane to me. If you ever come here, definitely include this in your ticket package because it's absolutely worth it. Definitely one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in person. In the museum itself, there's a whole wall displaying the different buttons and belt buckles and other artifacts that belong to the different regiments from the Civil War. There's also another display showing different pistols, rifles, carbines, muskets, all types of firearms that were used during the Civil War as well. Here's a display showing what a typical Confederate soldier would have looked like. And here's his Federal counterpart. This quote on the wall from the Gettysburg compiler really left an impression on me. Sometimes when studying history, especially the Civil War, it's easy to get caught up in the events taking place during the battles and the casualties that resulted from those events. But each of those casualties was a person like me or you with a family at home that worried for their safety. It really humanizes the men that fought here, and that's something I could sympathize with. This first part of the museum covers all the events leading up to the Civil War. This is crazy right here. This is the jail cell door that John Brown was locked behind after his raid on Harper's Ferry. These right here are artillery shells that were used at Fort Sumter when the Civil War first started. Now here's something that most people might not know. This here's a U.S. flag from 1861. And as most people know, each star represents a state on the U.S. flag, and this flag still recognizes the Confederate states because the U.S. government never acknowledged the Confederacy's independence. This here is a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation, but what makes this one special is that Abraham Lincoln signed it himself. Right here is a field bed and a desk, but not just any field bed and desk. These belong to Robert E. Lee. Okay, this is the craziest artifact in the whole museum. This is the stretcher that was used on Stonewall Jackson after he was wounded. And this is the table that his arm was amputated on. If you look closely onto the stretcher, you could still see blood stains. And that's Stonewall Jackson's blood. Now, George Gordon Meade was the commanding general of the Union Army during the Battle of Gettysburg. And this right here is his sword and the actual cap that he wore. Here's some artifacts that were used by soldiers during everyday life. You could see a bottle of medicine, a lice comb, and a toothbrush. Here's a life-size model of what a cavalry soldier would have looked like on horseback. This section is mostly about the civilians of Gettysburg during the battle. These artifacts were left behind when the Confederates retreated. There's a pair of boots and a Bible that belonged to a soldier from Alabama. This is just insane. These are joists from John Forney's farm where an artillery shell hit and went through all these joists in his ceiling. I've always been fascinated by the civilian aspect of the battle. Here are a bunch of household items that show battle damage. This uniform belonged to Captain Samuel Johnston, and right next to it are a pair of binoculars that were used in the field by generals.
To attack Sarah's forces. Union forces mount Little Round Top just moments before the Confederate signal to begin a diversion.
Here's more equipment that was often used in the field. There's a signal flag, a canteen, binoculars, and a cartridge box.
Around 7 p.m., he launches infantry, but the Confederates gain a foot.
General Gouverneur K. Warren was the head engineer of the Union Army. This is his telescope, which was probably used at the summit of Little Round Top. Today there's a statue of Warren that overlooks the battlefield from the top of Little Round Top. This is a Civil War era artillery gun. These are artifacts that were found at the Trossel farm near the southern end of the battlefield. This dresser, which was in the Trossel house, shows damage from the battle because it was struck twice by bullets. This is pretty cool. This shell went through the side of the Trossel barn. The hole in the side of the building can still be seen today. And there it is. This hole has been in the side of this barn since the battle, way back in 1863. Here's something that you would expect to be a lot more uncommon, but I've seen relics like this a few times. These are two bullets that were fused together after colliding in midair. This is one of the coolest things in here. This is the pen that Ulysses S. Grant used to sign the surrender agreement with Robert E. Lee. After the Civil War officially ended, there was a huge celebration in Washington, D.C., and this ceremonial baton was given to General William Tecumseh Sherman. That about does it for the Gettysburg Visitor Center Museum. If you ever make the trip to Gettysburg, definitely check it out. This place will probably give you the most complete picture of the events of the battle, and it also has an amazing gift shop. Don't forget to check out the Cyclorama and book a tour with a licensed battlefield guide, or take the auto tour that starts from the Visitor Center. If you'd like to make a donation to the National Park Service, I'll leave a link down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. We also have a Facebook group and Instagram for you to check out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.